All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with this month's mastermind. Title this month is How to Find Funding for Your Deals. And just an FYI upfront, this meeting is being recorded for the purposes of sharing with others that weren't able to attend live. So we're going to make this publicly available online. So anybody that's not okay with that, you can drop off. But the agenda is real loose. We'll just go around, introduce ourselves, your name, what you do, your biggest win of the last month, and then your biggest challenge or goal for the next month. So I'll go ahead and go first. My name's David Onanian. I'm a real estate agent and a real estate investor. My biggest win of the last month, if you've been following on social media, was getting the Baldwin flip listed. So we got that completely rehabbed, ready to list, and that went out yesterday actually. And we've got showings rolling in, scheduled all through the weekend. So excited about that. So that's definitely a huge win for me. The biggest challenge, our goal for the next month for me will actually be finding another flip. So getting started on another project. So we got a couple of leads that we're working on now, and hopefully going to get one of those closed and have another big flip lined up ready to go. Sandeep, if you're comfortable sharing, I'd love to hear from you as well.
Hi, this is Sandeep. I'm a software engineer full-time and part-time real estate investor. And I don't have any big wins coming to real estate right now, but I'm a buy and hold investor where I buy
Yeah,
and hold real estate. And biggest challenges right now is to find some, rental properties, below the market value, but prices have been going up crazy right now. And
yeah,
my biggest goal is to, I want to do some JV with the investors. I want to learn about fix and flips as well. But because most of my area is like, buy and hold real estate. Yeah,
sure.
that's pretty much. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I was a software engineer for 12 years. So I finally left last year
Oh yeah.
to get into real estate full time. So I know a
Okay.
lot of us are moving into the investment industry.
Yeah.
You know, and,
Yeah. The ultimate goal is passive income.
yeah,
Financial freedom.
right,
So.
exactly. So yeah, so I did rentals. I still do rentals,
Okay.
but now kind of supplement it with fix and flips, and then try to take
Uh-huh.
the profits from fix and flips and put them into more rentals. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So glad to have you on. So this month we're going to be doing a quick tip on how to find funding. So go spend about 15 minutes going over all the funding sources that are available to real estate investors, and then we'll just open up the floor for Q&A, and we'll just have a general discussion about things you guys need, challenges you guys are facing. We got to have some more people jump on in the middle. That's okay. So we'll get right into it. So funding sources for real estate investors. So I kind of created a flow chart here and kind of classified real estate investors into three different credit categories. And what I mean by that is somebody with excellent credit. So here on the far left has employment income or stable business income for at least 2 or more years. They've got assets and retirement accounts that have equity in them. And they typically have a low income to or debt to income ratio. So when I say low, I mean probably under 20%. So if you're making, $100,000, a year in income, well, no, I said that wrong. If you let's say this, if you're making like $10,000 a month in take home pay, um, normally your debt payments that month would be 2,000 or less to be under that 20% rule. Somebody that's in the middle, somebody with like, what I call okay credit is somebody that has steady employment income, some assets, but probably little equity. And they have maybe an okay debt to income ratio, something less than 40%. This is what I was kind of in towards the end of my corporate career. I didn't have any assets except for the home that my primary residence. But I did have that steady employment income. And so that kind of allowed me to qualify for some of these loan types that you see here to get started. But then the investor with unsure credit, and this is somebody that's got maybe unstable employment income, or their reported earnings don't always show up. Maybe they work for cash or tips, or they're running a business that maybe at the end of the year the business is showing a loss, but it's not necessarily losing that money every year. This is somebody with maybe no assets that have equity in them. Somebody that usually has a high debt to income ratio, so over 50% there. And so we're going to talk about the different funding sources available to each one of these investors. And we're going to start on the far right. So everything in that red arrow actually can be used by the other investors. So as we move from right to left up this chart, based on your credit profile, these are the options that are available to you. So on the far right, unsure credit, the number one thing that comes to mind is hard money loans. Hard money loans are really attractive because they're very easy to get. They're not underwriting you as a person, so they don't care about your credit. They don't care about your credit score. They don't care about your debt to income ratio, any of that stuff. All they care about is the property that you're purchasing. And so a lot of times there's hard money lenders that will do this without any paperwork whatsoever. They'll just put a lien on the house that you're purchasing, and if you fail to make them the payments, then they take the house as collateral and they're made whole. A lot of times the hard money lender is going to charge very high rates. So the reason for that is because they're taking a risk and lending you money when you might not have the credit history to show that you've been able to pay back these loans. So it is more of a higher risk loan. Therefore, you're going to pay higher interest rate when you take these out. Now, we shopped around for hard money loans for a while now, and at least in St. Louis, normally we're able to see somebody get a 12% annual interest rate and then expect to pay about 3 points up front to get the loan, and then 3 points on the back end when they close out of the loan. So typically your interest rate is going to be around 18% annual or more with this hard money loan. So they are useful if you don't have any other options, or they're useful if you have a deal sitting in front of you that has enough of a margin in it to where you can pay that type of interest on it. So there's definitely pros and cons to using hard money loans. I try to stay away from because of the high interest rates, and we'll show you some of the other options here, even if you don't have great credit. But let's move on to the second one, and it's partnerships and joint ventures. These are an excellent way to do some of your deals if you're not able to get funding. Simply bringing a deal to an investor could potentially get you a stake in the deal. Last year I did a flip with another investor. I had a couple of flips going at the time, and I didn't know if I really wanted to take on another 100+K rehab. So I had this deal and I partnered with another investor, and he put up all the money for it. So we ended up splitting profits on the deal, but I didn't have to bring any money to it because I brought the deal. And so that's how valuable just bringing the deal, especially in today's market right now. There's very little inventory out there. So if you can bring a deal to another investor, that potentially is worth half of the deal, and you don't even have to bring money to it. So it's an excellent way to get started if you don't have a great credit profile. Another way is using wholesale assignments. So this is when you hear the typical term wholesaling. This is somebody that's getting a deal under contract and then assigning it to a rehabber or a rental owner for an assignment fee. So they're basically signing over that contract and taking a fee in between. So that's why they're called the wholesaler. Another way somebody with unsure credit could get funding is through owner financing. So if you find an owner that is willing to finance the deal for you, in those you can usually work out a lot more favorable terms than working with a hard money lender or even a bank, because you're working with the owner itself. You could also do an assumable mortgage. So if the owner has a mortgage that you could assume, you could potentially just take over their existing mortgage and not have to go through the whole qualification process that a bank normally does before they give you a mortgage. And then last in this category, and one of my favorites, is private money. So this is getting somebody involved that has money to invest, but doesn't want to put in any of the legwork. They want to be kind of a passive investor or a private lender. So getting somebody to loan you the money and giving them either an interest rate return or a percentage of equity in the deal, and then you do all the legwork. So this is probably one of my favorite ways to fund deals across the board here, and it's available to investors of all credit profiles. So moving on here to the middle in the yellow section, the person with the OK credit. Now bank options start opening up to this person because they've got that steady employment income that banks like to see. They've got the good, okay, debt to income ratio, less than 40%. I think on conventional mortgages, it's like 42 or 43%. It's kind of their cutoff. They don't like to give loans to people that have a ratio above that. So let's talk about some of these options. So conventional mortgages. Conventional mortgages are a very good option. You can have a limit of 10 of these, which I'm working on getting my limit up on my rental portfolio. The reason why these are so attractive is it's a government-backed loan that has a fixed interest rate. So on a conventional mortgage right now, you can lock in an interest rate in the twos for 30 years, which is incredible. I never heard of this happening. I can only imagine what that means for inflation and our economy going forward. But you can get a 2% interest rate for 30 years. I've helped several clients do it in the last couple of weeks. It's crazy. So that's conventional mortgages. On a conventional mortgage on investment property, if it's a single family investment property where you're not going to occupy the home, you can put down as little as 15%. A lot of lenders want to see 20%, but some will do 15. And then on multifamily or 2 to 4 units, conventional mortgage, you're probably going to have to bring 20 or 25% down. So that's what a conventional mortgage looks like. An FHA mortgage is another option available to these folks. The difference with the FHA is it has to be an owner-occupied unit. So where real estate investors use the FHA mortgage the most is with a small multifamily property. So 2 or 3 or a 4 unit building, you can get an FHA mortgage, and that allows you to get the 30-year fixed rate again. And it also allows you to put a very low down payment on the property. So 3.5% is the only down payment that the FHA mortgage requires. So you can acquire, it's probably one of my favorite ways to advise people to start investing in real estate is to go buy a 2 or 4 unit, live in one of the units for a year, and only pay 3.5% down to get into a rental property and start getting some cash flow and have somebody else pay your mortgage essentially. When I got started investing, I wish I would have done that. I did buy a single family with an FHA mortgage and did kind of a slow live-in flip. And so that's kind of how I got started in investing before I knew all the tricks of the trade. Another type of mortgage you can get for somebody in this category is an FHA 203K mortgage. The only difference with this loan, it's the same as the FHA, but they'll give you money to rehab the property. So if the property is in need of repairs, they'll also lend on it to give you the rehab money so that you can improve the property. Usually it takes about 60 days or more to close these type of loans because there's a lot of red tape you have to go through. But that is an option to these investors. Another option is a portfolio lender. And a portfolio lender is basically a bank that's going to hold your note in-house. So a lot of banks that are doing conventional mortgages, FHA mortgages, any of these government-backed mortgages, they're essentially selling your loan or your note on the secondary market. So they're not actually the ones that end up servicing the loan once you have to make the payments. With a portfolio lender, this is like a local bank or a local credit union that's going to hold your note in-house, and it's not going to go through all the same underwriting guidelines that a conventional or FHA mortgage would go through. So sometimes they'll be okay with your higher debt to income ratio as long as they see other things in your profile that warrant lending to you. So that's the advantage of a portfolio lender. The disadvantage of portfolio lender is that you're not going to get a fixed rate for 30 years. These are most likely going to be a 3 or a 5 year adjustable rate mortgage, meaning that they'll lock it in for the first couple years and then it adjusts to whatever the market interest rates are. Another option here available to these investors is a small commercial loan. So this is very similar to your portfolio lenders. This is just a commercial bank that's giving you a small loan to do rehabs or buy rental properties. I have several of these as well. These are the same terms. So you've got a 3 or a 5 year ARM, adjustable rate mortgage with these, and they like to do a 20 or a 25 year amortization. So those are the differences between your portfolio and commercial loans versus your conventional and your FHA. So that's somebody with the okay credit. Let's move on up to somebody with excellent credit. This person actually has the option to probably pay all cash for a property. And while might not be the wisest decision with the interest rates as low as they are, when you make an offer, and a lot of people will say we're making cash offers or whatnot, a lot of time that is misunderstood. And when I'm making an offer, it says in the contract that this is not contingent on financing. So in the seller's mind, a lot of times they think this is a cash offer, which it's kind of slang for not contingent on financing, but a lot of times I'm getting a loan on the property. It just means that the offer is not contingent on me getting a loan or me qualifying for financing. So a lot of times we can make cash offers, but we're actually, using private loans, or we're using small commercial banks to actually fund the deal at the end. Another option available to these folks is a home equity line of credit. This is often called a HELOC for short. This is if you have equity in a primary residence, equity in a vacation home. You can actually get a line of credit, which is very convenient because you only pay interest when you're using it. So I have one of these on a property that I own, and anytime I need to tap it to purchase a property, that's the only time that I have to pay interest on that line of credit is when I use it. So that's what I like about it, is I can put the money back, I can take it out when I need it, and it kind of flexible to what I'm needing to do and what I'm needing to purchase at the time. Another option available to these investors is large commercial loans. So what I mean by this is when you're getting into larger multifamily properties that are, approaching the millions, or if you're wanting to do like a package of single family. I had a package of 5 single family homes come across my desk last week, and we're talking to my commercial lender, and he's like, yes, we can do a large commercial loan that would cover all the properties and just give you one payment for all of them. So that's an option. And then somebody also with excellent credit might have option to do a self-directed IRA. So this is different than your employer-sponsored retirement account or 401k. You can actually roll those into something called a self-directed IRA. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to invest retirement money that's earmarked for you to use when you're 65 or older, and be able to invest in real estate right now. So what's nice about that is you can basically hedge yourself against the returns in the stock market and start getting into real estate, because real estate in the next 20-30 years is going to be much through appreciation and inflation, it's going to be much higher in value than some of the alternative investments that people are in right now. So those are the 3 categories of funding sources. I'll open up to questions now. If anybody has specific questions on an exact strategy or wants to know some more, I'll give you guys a minute to ask those. Anybody got anything? All right. We'll also have questions at the end, but feel free to stop me if something comes to mind. So I want to dig down into one funding source for you guys today, and figured I'd do private money. One, because it's available to all the investors in the chart before this, and it's actually my favorite way to invest. It's probably the less riskiest way to invest, and also provides a win-win for everybody involved in the deal. So I love using private money. So how do you do this? How do you put private money to use? And first of all, what is private money again? This is using somebody else, another individual that you know, so one of your friends, one of your family members, one of your coworkers, and they're going to fund the money to buy your investment deal. And so, and they become what's known as the private lender in this situation, and they're giving you private money to buy the deal. So how do you do this? How do you put this thing together? People want to know this all the time. So it's actually pretty simple, 4-step process. Number one is identify potential lenders within your sphere of influence. So when I say sphere of influence, these are your friends, your family members, your neighbors, anybody that knows you. People that know, like, and trust you already are within the sphere of influence that you have. Everybody has different networks of people that they know. Start looking at people and seeing, who in your network could potentially have, maybe money in a retirement account that they're, not happy with the returns they're getting there, or maybe they've got cash in the bank that's just sitting there. And as we all know, cash in the bank is actually losing money right now because the bank isn't paying any interest on it. And with inflation going to be going up, people need to get their money out of the bank and into actually real assets. And I think real estate's going to be one of the best investments for them to do. So identify these people in your networks. And the reason why it needs to be somebody that you know is because according to the FCC, if you were to advertise this to people that you don't know, you could be breaking FCC rules and regulations. So you have to have a prior relationship with this person. They just have to know who you are already, and you're not advertising this to a complete stranger, basically. So what you want to do second is ask them if they would critique a presentation that you plan to give. Is the whole idea here is that you're going to make it very, low pressure. You're not going to make this some sales pitch that, give me your money so I can buy these deals. You're going to frame it up so it's real easy to say yes to this. So ask them if they would critique a presentation that you plan to give. So that's the ask. And if they're a friend of yours, they're going to be like, sure, yeah, I'd love to see what you're doing and give you some help on this. And so then number 3, you're going to prepare what's called the private lending presentation you're going to give it. What is the private lending presentation? Well, basically, it's going to tell them what private money is, what private lending is, define all that for them, define how it works. They put down the money, they're going to get back some interest in return, or they're going to get back some equity in the deal in return, however you want to structure it. And then you want to give them kind of a background on what you've been doing. If you have prior deals, this is an excellent way to put examples of those deals into your presentation and say, this is what X investment made. This is what the other investment made. This is my portfolio of deals I've done. If you haven't done any deals, this is where you want to put projections of, hey, this is a deal that we're looking for funding for. This is what this is going to look like. We're going to have to put X amount of dollars in it. We're going to have to buy it for this amount. We're going to rent it out for this amount, or we're going to fix up and sell it for this other amount. And these are the profit margins. This is the interest that we're paying on the deal, or this is the equity that we're paying on the deal. Basically lay it all out there for them, and then show them the potential returns that you're planning to give on that potential deal, and then just ask for the feedback. And number 4, you're going to ask, this is all you're going to ask. You're going to ask if they know of anyone else that might be interested in this. And a lot of times they'll be like, well, Dave, you're showing me that I can make 8 to 12% in interest to fund your next fix and flip. I am very interested myself. So that's most of the time, that's the feedback that I'm getting. How do I sign up for this? What do you mean I can do this in my IRA and I won't even notice that the money's not there and I can make 12%? That's crazy. So this is the way that I've been able to get close to $1 million in private funding lined up, and how I've taught other people to do it as well. So it's very easy. It's not as hard as it sounds. It just takes some practice. And this is probably the easiest, simplest way to kind of frame it up and get going with it. So if you guys want some more help with this, I do offer a membership to our site, My Agent Investor. And if I could tell you about this for 2 minutes and then we'll get off of the sales pitch. But with the My Agent Investor membership, you're getting access to me, access to a private Facebook community. You're getting access to a quick start real estate investing course that teaches you how to invest in real estate, everything from finding a deal, finding the hot spots, to funding the deal, to getting under contract, renting it out, managing the property. All that stuff is in there. We're also going to be doing the course live on Zoom as well. So they'll have live Q&A feedback on that. You're also going to get a referral to a local Keller Williams agent for your investing goals. So somebody from my team is going to be able to work with you, set up MLS searches with you, and be your go-to agent to find comps and find deals and all that stuff. You're also going to get the rental property cash flow analyzer. This is what we use to buy rental property. It's going to tell you exactly how much cash flow a property is going to make years into the future, and know exactly what your returns are going to be. You're also going to get the rehab and repairs estimator. This is going to tell you everything from a cosmetic make ready to a full gut rehab, how much to the T exactly it's going to cost you. And then you're also going to get, which has a lot to do with this presentation tonight, is the private deal funding presentation. So that presentation that I told you about, we have the exact presentation that I use to build up my private funding and my private lender list. So we have all that packaged up in a nice course for you that you can basically copy and paste and use on your own. You're also going to get the how to run your business on your phone pack. This is going to tell you how to do all this stuff on your phone and not ever have to be tied to your computer to do any of this. We usually charge $497 for this, just one-time fee. But since you guys are on this webinar with me tonight, there's a promo code that you can use, WEB97, which will make it $97 for all this for just one-time fee. myagentvinvestor.com/go. myagentvinvestor.com/go for that. And with that, we're just going to open it up for questions and answers. So I want to hear what's burning on your guys' mind. What do you guys want to know about real estate? What can I help you with?
I have a question. Like, are you do you invite like voluntary? Do you do any kind of voluntary classes, like inviting a few people to your fix and flips? We can learn from you. I mean, like, let's say you're
mentorship or coaching opportunities.
Yeah, it's more like not. I mean, yeah, like a coaching, like like you do it any voluntarily. Like we can just stop by. Just want to know how you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've got students of mine. They shadow me on some of my deals, or I'll go on. I'll go on appointments with them if they're looking at potential properties. So yeah, we do that all the time.
And do you guys use any kind of a spreadsheet or any app or something to figure out if it's a deal or not, like deal or no deal for a fix and flip?
Yeah. And so that was like on this previous slide there, the calculators that we use. Let me see if I've got some on my desktop now and I can show you what I'm talking about.
Where you put down your numbers and there you go. Right?
Yeah. So I just have a whole spreadsheet with all the calculators on it. Mm-hmm. And let me see here. Yeah, let me try to share this other screen with you guys real quick. Okay, so this is the cash flow and rental cash flow analyzer here. So this is a deal I just ran for one of my clients. It's fourplex that was listed for $328,500. He was looking at putting 20% down. He's going to get an interest rate of 4% from a commercial bank. And this should have been 25 actually. So 25-year amortization on that. He's going to have a monthly payment of $1,387.16 on the principal and interest on this loan. And then this was a 4-family that had units rented out for $800 a piece, which is kind of below market for this area. We thought we could get them up a little bit higher, maybe to like 900, 950. We had a 5% vacancy baked in here. Sometimes depending on the area, I might go up to 10 or 15% on this. So just let's take a look what it looks like at 10. He was going to self-manage it, so he wasn't going to have to pay for property management. Usually that's going to be around 8 to 10% for your property management fees. Maintenance reserve. So this is for repairs and CapEx expenses that come up. I'd always have this at least at a minimum of 10, sometimes 15 or 20, depending on the condition of the property or the age of the property. Utilities. So this is if the seller is paying certain utilities on this property. I think they're paying sewer and trash, if I'm not mistaken. And then this is your property taxes, your insurance, other fees. I think this one was actually part of an HOA that had a $1,575 yearly fee here. So basically on this property, if you got property management on it, the net cash flow is very low. So it is only $168 a month at the current rents. Now, obviously we could maybe bump up the rents once some of these tenants started turning over, so we can just change that and see what it looks like. Now we're looking a little bit better at $448 a month. And what I usually tell my clients is like, we usually want to see at least $100 a unit cash flow on multifamilies. Sometimes you'll see up to, 200-300 on single family. I like to have close to 300 cash flow a month on my single family investment purchases. But yeah, this is the calculator we use. And what I like a lot about this is on the next tab, it breaks this out like for the next 20 or 30 years, whatever the amortization is on this. And you can really see like what your returns are. So like first year, if we're at that 900 a month, let me even take it back a second here. So let's go back to 800. So if we're at 800 a month, so this is how it was advertised at 800 a month. Column W here is your cash on cash return. So if I'm having to put 20% down, it's like 65 grand. And I'm only going to make $100 a month. That's a very low cash on cash return. So that's 3% annually. So this is why he probably passed on this deal. It's just because the numbers on the cash on cash return are so low. Usually I like to see this at around 20. So literally we would, play with this price here. How much of a discount does he need off a market price? I can just put in the discount here. So let's see if we can make it work at a 20% discount. That bumps your cash on cash return up to 446, and that bumps your net monthly cash flow to 446, and then that would actually bump your cash on cash return to 10%. So now it's looking a little bit better. And this is one, and like anything in real estate, it's going to appreciate. You're going to have rents appreciate as well with inflation. So this cash on cash return over time goes up significantly. So yeah, this is one of the calculators that we use. We've got one for doing BRRRR deals, and this is basically ones where you're buying them and then you're refinancing them right away. So it's slightly different, but the same stuff. And then we have a rehab estimator where if you're buying a property that needs a rehab, this is how I buy all of my fix and flips now. As I go through all these lines, there's like 200 different things you can do inside of a house, and it has them all here with all the prices. And you can literally just put in the amount, how many square foot of roof do I need to replace here? And it pops out the price for you. You keep going down, and then at the end, you get the total summation of everything that you've got. And I literally, when I'm using the bank or when I'm using a private lender, I'm printing out this page down here that tells them exactly where the rehab money's going, like into every specific category. So they don't have any confusion on how I'm going to rehab this house and what's going to happen to it. And then I think So that is that. Let me pop back over to the slide. Did that answer your question, Sandy?
Yeah, and so is this a membership, like it's annual membership or it's a one time?
Just one time. Yeah.
Okay, and
Just one time and you're with us for life. So we figure we make it pretty lucrative to get a strong base of clients on board and kind of grow from there.
and like another question, like do you hire like a property manager to walk through your fix and flips, or you go for a general contractor? Aman.
So with the calculator that I've developed, I don't really need a contractor to walk through until after I buy it. So I've been very comfortable with the estimates I've been able to come up with using that. I don't think I've been very far off on. I've probably been maybe within 5% of whatever I estimated in to begin with. So I'm really comfortable bidding out the what the job's going to cost me and making sure that I didn't miss anything, because I'm reading every one of these line items and asking myself, doesn't need it. So I'll buy the property, then I'll start getting bids from contractors. So I'll have this in my back pocket. Let's say I know my rehab estimator is saying it's going to be $100,000 to completely gut this house. Now I've got 3 contractors coming to give me bids, and I can weigh all the bids together and against my estimate. And I'm usually looking for somebody to get at my estimate or a little bit below, and then I'm hiring them. As far as property management goes, I have an in-house property management company. So I've got an employee that answers the phones. She's licensed. She does all the leasing of the units. So I never have to talk to a tenant, which is amazing. So the only thing I get called on is if there's a repair over a certain dollar amount. I just text back and authorize it, but that's about it. What else you guys got?
Yeah, I had a question. Good afternoon. I'm not from the St. Louis area, but I actually own a property there in the Central West End. I'm very happy about how that property is rented, and I live in the Chicagoland area. But very interested in doing more business in St. Louis. I'm infatuated with the city. Not too sure about how to obtain quality contractors. Kind of what's the secret sauce, and how do you crack that nut?
That's a very common question and a very common challenge. So it's a numbers game, unfortunately. So I always tell people the story of my first flip, which I didn't know any contractors. But what I had to do was I had to call a dozen contractors. And out of the dozen contractors that I talked to, 4 of them showed up to give me a bid when they said they were going to give me a bid. And then only 2 of them actually gave me a bid after meeting with me. But one of them was a great bid. And so we continue to do business with them. And but the truth about contractors is that they come and go so quickly. As investors, we can't afford to pay, the contractor that's advertising on Angie's List, right? They're running a business where they're charging, homeowners, the premium price for premium quality. That's something that as an investor, it's hard for us to make money when we're using those brands, those contractors from that are of that caliber. And so we're looking for somebody that can, get it done for cheaper. And a lot of times the quality is going to be a little bit less, but if you have a rental, sometimes you can get away with, putting less quality materials in there, not having a bunch of tile and stuff like that, maybe just laying some luxury vinyl tile or something like that. But yeah, the secret is just making calls and making connections. So I'm always asking other investors. We've got a big list of contractors, and there's really, in the 4 years that I've been doing investing, nobody's been with me the whole time. They kind of always come and go, and people get busy. People, all of a sudden disappear in the middle of your job and you have to figure out what to do from there. But yeah, we're always looking for people, and we can give you some referrals depending on, what if you want to message me offline, what you're looking to do as far as a job, and we might be able to hook you up with somebody.
Thank you.
And are you like looking to do interested in doing any partnerships, coming to buy and hold?
Sorry, you were a little muffled. Like, could you say it again?
Yeah, are you interested in looking to do any partnerships for buy and hold, like for a large multifamily?
Yeah. So on large multifamily, that would be the idea. So yeah, I would love to partner with somebody and find a deal. It's hard. I've been looking, and it seems like it's very competitive and very hard to find something at the right price. I'm invested with on three larger multifamilies right now that we were fortunate to get decent price on and value add opportunities. But yeah, I would love to get involved in some more.
So do you have any experience with the syndication or large apartments? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm involved in 3 syndication deals right now.
Okay.
Looking for more. So if you got a lead on anything, I'd be happy to help you kind of go through the process of, setting up a partnership, acquiring the contracts and all that stuff in line. So. All right, what else you guys got tonight?
And do you even like still do your real estate agent job, or you're like more into investing right now?
So on the real estate agent side, I only help investors really. So that's kind of been my specialty, is working with investors. I love working with newer investors, people that need, help getting started. Kind of look back to when, I got started. I bought my first deal, and it was an absolute nightmare because I read all these books and I listened to all these podcasts, and then I already had my real estate license. So I didn't use another agent. I didn't have any help, and ended up miscalculating the cost of a rehab and losing thousands and thousands of dollars. And what was worse than that was all the nights of sleep that I lost over the 6 months during this deal. And so now I'm super passionate about like making sure that people don't go through that pain, and get a hold of an agent that has investment experience that can just, tell you what to look out for and what you don't know about. So.
Yeah, because I was looking for an investor as well, sorry, as an agent too. So maybe we can, talk offline. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Send me a message or get a hold of me, and we'll talk about what we can do for you and set you up.
Okay.
Cool.
Hey Dave, your contact information was that the previous screen?
Let's see here. I don't think so. I guess you guys don't have my contact. Let me type it into the screen here. Yeah, my email, the easiest one is davido@kw.com, and then my phone number is 400-8219.
Thank you.
And have you done any portfolio lending loans before?
Like me lending to another investor?
As a portfolio lender, or I heard some banks do portfolio lending too. Like, do you have any referrals?
Yeah, so I've had helped some clients do some of those, like through a credit union. What I typically see though is that the rates are a little bit higher on a portfolio versus like a commercial. So like some banks in St. Louis specifically, they've got a commercial lending department that's pretty competitive, and I think right now we're getting like 4.5% on a commercial loan, which is like some, the other smaller portfolio lenders, they probably want a little bit higher than that. But that's the only downside.
So like David, like you were talking about, like you estimate your repairs on a flip, correct? So like, is it like you
Yeah.
got it from experience, or like how is it like possible? I mean,
Yeah, I had
yeah,
that. I
because
had to make a lot of mistakes.
you've
Like
been not a contractor, I guess. You're not be working in the construction field. I'm just curious.
yeah, it's mainly through failing a bunch of times and like then I would go in and I'd know what things cost, but then I'd forget about things. I'd forget to look at the water heater. I'd forget to look at the plumbing stack, or, all these things would come up. So then so that's why I built the spreadsheet where I have to read every line of it. And then ever since I've been doing this for like probably 2 years now with the spreadsheet, and every single rehab is like right to a T, right exactly where I wanted it to be. Because I'm making sure that I'm not missing anything, and the prices are all there. And the pricing in the spreadsheet's actually pretty conservative. So a lot of times you can get a contractor, an investor-friendly contractor that can do it for cheaper. And we always build in a little contingency, like so I gotta show you what we have on here. So at the top, you have a contingency budget. So I always put in 10%. So if you've got $100,000 rehab, you might have 10 grand in surprises come up when you start opening up the walls, because like you can't see everything. So we do put that little bit of padding in there.
And do you follow the 70% ARV rule for fix and flips, or it just doesn't matter?
We'd like to. It's hard to make that work in the market right now, just because it's such a competitive seller's market. I mean, so we're seeing you might have to go to like 80% of ARV is typically where I've been acquiring deals. But the funny thing about that is like the prices, the ARVs are going up while you're rehabbing the property. Like this one that I just listed, it went up tens of thousands of dollars over the last 4 months. And so like where we were at an 80% of ARV, now we are actually down to like a 70% of ARV. So paying attention to the market too is pretty important.
So are you thinking like the prices will come down maybe after election or next year, or you think?
Well, that's the big question. So I think right now the Fed is bailing a lot of people out. They're printing a lot of money, and then they're keeping the interest rates really low. So what this means is that we're going to have some massive inflation coming. And I think as soon as the interest rates go up, as soon as the Fed starts providing all the stimulus payments to people and the increased unemployment, I think we could enter a recession on the real estate side, which a lot of experts have said that we were already in a recession at the start of this year. But because of inflation, I don't know if the prices are going to go down. I think we have the potential of inflation being so high that we're in a recession and the prices keep going up. So that's it. It's kind of a interesting stance that I've seen taken, and makes a lot of sense. But in any story, like on a month-to-month basis, I'm keeping my pulse on what's happening with real estate. And right now, prices are skyrocketing. Inventory is as low as it's ever been. So as realtors, we talk about months of inventory in the market. So typically a balanced market has 6 months of inventory. And what that means is that if no new listings came out in 6 months, all of the listings would be sold, right? And last year around this time, we had maybe 2.9 to 3 months of inventory in the market. So that meant it was a very, very strong seller's market. Anything over 6 months, it would become a buyer's market. We haven't seen that since like '08 to '11 or 2011. But last month, in the St. Louis metro area, we had 1.9 months of inventory, which is the lowest I've ever seen it even recorded in like the last 20, 30 years. So we have less people selling their house, probably because of COVID and then amongst other things. But we have more buyers because the interest rates are super low. So anybody that's thought about investing or buying their first home is now out in the market ready to buy stuff, and that just stuff is getting gobbled up immediately. Yeah. So I can continue to look at that. And, as the supply of inventory goes up, we will see some stabilization on the prices. But until that happens, we're going to be, keep going up.
Thanks for answering.
Which nobody knows how long it's going to go. So, I mean, this could blow up in our faces. Yeah, this could blow up in our faces in a couple months, or it could go on for another 10 years. The good thing about real estate is it's typically slow to rise and slow to fall. And it tends to be a lagging indicator. So a lot of times you can see it coming before you hit the bottom. Like, for instance, in '08, one of the big misconceptions was that the real estate market crashed overnight. That simply isn't true. The financial market collapsed overnight. So you saw like banks close their doors, stocks could go completely bankrupt to zero. But the real estate market, if you looked at the numbers from '08 to it started going down. And then in 2012, it actually hit bottom. So it took 4 years to go all the way down to the bottom of that recession. And then it's been going up ever since then. So on the fix and flip side, one of my rules of thumb is that I want to be in and out in 6 months. And so that would protect me from taking a huge swing in prices. And then on my buy and hold investments, I make sure I cash flow enough to where, I can wait through any type of recession that comes our way.
So, do you do any parallel flips at one time, or you just go one at a time?
Do I do what again? I'm sorry.
Do you do multiple flips at one time, or you go one flip at a time?
Yeah, I think the most we do at a time is probably 3 or 4. Okay. Outside of that, it's too many hours a week for that I want to manage. But yeah, we're doing 2 right now. So we're flipping a rental and flipping a fix and flip. But yeah, other than that, we're starting to look, it's really dependent on finding the next deal, which is kind of proved to be the challenge lately.
And do you go I'm just, it's out of the box, but I'm just curious. Do you guys go find your deals in auctions or any distressed properties or something like that, or?
Personally, I don't. That's a little bit higher of a risk category for me. Now, what's the reason I don't do auctions is, one, a lot of times you don't get to see the house. And if you're talking about auctions, you're not getting title insurance on the house either. So you could be buying a property that somebody else has claims to, or you could be buying a property that has another mortgage on it or a lien against it. And when you buy at an auction, there's no guarantees any of that happens. So what you have to do is you have to hire a title company to do a preliminary search for you to make sure that you're going to get clean title on it. And so for that reason alone, you're taking a huge risk at buying the deal. So I know people that buy at the auctions, they've made hundreds of grand on properties. They've also lost hundreds of thousands of dollars on properties. And that's just, risks that they're willing to take. That being said, I think once that the foreclosures get turned back on, you're going to see a lot of foreclosures once stimulus money runs out, once unemployment runs out. once they start doing foreclosures, that market is going to be flooded. And so typically where I've bought the foreclosures is when the bank owns the property and they list it with a realtor and it comes on the market that way. So I've bought a couple on that way. The downside there is that you're competing with other buyers in the market, but the advantage to it is that you can close on it at a normal title company. You can go see the property. You can get it inspected if you want. So you can do all the things that a normal transaction you can do.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're buying stuff on the market, and then off market. We're using a lot of the just networking. So other real estate agents, other investors that I know, and just homeowners. So like, the last couple of deals that I bought, somebody that my pastor at my church referred me to. Another was somebody that a neighbor of mine referred me to. So it's just a lot of it's just who you know and trying to find that seller before they find a real estate agent to put it on the market. So that's pretty much the biggest key that I've found to finding deals. All right, guys. Any last questions before I close this out? All right. Well, thanks for joining me this month. Then again, my contact information is on the screen if you guys want to reach out and work together. Other than that, have a good evening and hope to see you back here next month. Take care.
Thanks, David.
Thanks.